long story short, my parents had me. They were both from the South. They were poor. They were trying to make it. And so what they did at 30 days, they gave me away to my father's sister. And when my parents came to get me at 6, you know, it was a whole different world. First, I didn't know these people. I had learned to call the two people I lived with mother and father. And so when I was told that these new people were my mother and father who had never, in my mind, been in my life, I just rebelled against that. And that was the source of all of my rebellion. So I know that I'm an addict. Looking backwards, is that my first drug of choice was, violence and anger, and I learned sports. And sports was the way that I could channel all of this energy I had. And I thought that that's my ticket. That's my ticket to the pros. And if I can't make it as a place kicker, I'm going to make it as a defensive end. The summer between graduating from high school and my first year in college, I had an accident with a lawnmower, and the lawnmower broke two of my toes. One of them got fused, and it was my kicking foot. Once I had that accident, and between right after high school and I was in college, my whole perspective on life changed. And so what I did was I got into playing woe is me, and that led to drinking, and drinking really wasn't my drug of choice. And I experimented with all of the drugs. I went into service, and once I went into the service, I went overseas and came back, and I was really full blown with the drug use, but it was still fun. And the irony of this, I don't know if I should say it, but I'll say it. I got out of the service, and because of my record in the service, I was on the Washington, D.C. police force, and it was an undercover cop. And it was my job to go around and cop drugs and take the stuff back and turn the people in. Well, I got kicked off the police force because all of the drugs I turned in always turn up bogus. Because I either used them, smoked them, snorted them, got high with them. And what the drugs did, long story short, it took me everywhere it was supposed to take me. I lived to use and I used to live. I mean, I used all of the hard drugs. I sold drugs. Wind up in living in nice places, wind up being broke. And what drugs did for me is it took me to prison 3 times. By nature, I'm a mean-spirited person, and I'm violent. I do real, real well in prisons. The drugs had stopped working for me. I was getting high pretty much every day in there, but I wasn't getting high. I couldn't feel it no more. And I remember maybe it was about a year or so later, somebody else mentioned this to me. Why don't you just try this, man? You're cranky, you're evil, why don't you do this? And I said, okay. I've been clean 21 years, and my first 5 years clean were clean in prison. Staying clean in prison was the most difficult thing in my life. And I would go out for parole, and they would turn me down. And I had a friend outside to say, if they turn you down, you need to write them a letter. And I said, yeah, tell them go to hell or something, I hope they die. He said, no, you need to tell them thank you for even giving you the opportunity to go out. With stuff I never considered, I did that. And I went up the next year. They turned me down again. My friend said, you need to write them another letter and tell them thank you for giving you the opportunity to work on yourself. I did it again. The third year, they turned me down. He says, you really need to thank them for giving you the opportunity to work on yourself on the inside. I said, this is a bunch of crap here. These people don't want to hear this mess. He said, trust me. I remember the 4th year I went up, about half the parole board came up. And that's not normal. Usually you get a parole officer or 2 if they're working the same area. Half of them came up. They wanted to see who this person was writing these crazy letters to them. And I said, that year they turned me down again. I said, I really want to thank you. And I said, maybe you guys are right, that I don't deserve to be outside. And I wrote something down there. I said, I'm really scared to be outside. And what you guys are doing are allowing me, giving me a place to change and not putting me in a threatening environment, because I may be able to change here, but I'm not sure I could change on the outside. So the next year, and I'm saying, I'm glad that you're keeping me locked up. The next year I go out, and I don't get an answer. So I'm writing a letter early now, thanks again for turning me down. I'm so glad to be in prison because my life is better in here than it's ever been. And them clowns let me go. Right when I tell them that I don't want to go home, I like it here, and the worst feeling of fear hit me as fear has ever hit me in my life.